Okay, so I received an email from a very nice lady called Lara. Hi Lara, how are you? Asking me to talk about the Crystal Scouts. So I did a series of videos on the crystal souls. So if you don't know what crystal souls are, you need to look up my YouTube channel, Daisy Fairy Magic, and look at the series there that's called Characteristics of the Crystal Soul. So you'll understand what I'm talking about. And Lara wanted to know about the Crystal Scouts. So these are the kind of precursor to the Crystal Children, the wave that came in the 80s and 90s, that wave of souls. When, anytime I've tuned in to spirit about these things, I do, in the last few years especially, I really think it's important that we don't get too hooked on labels and, are you an indigo, are you a rainbow, are you a golden child, are you a, this or that. I don't think it's good for us to label ourselves too much in any way. I think it's important we keep integrative in our energy and we keep a sense of integration. However, the reality is, even though all is one and all, we're all the one energy, all is one and one is the all, that is a universal principle. At the same time, we do have individual different characteristics, and we can function quite differently from each other in this world. And there's beauty in that. There's beauty in that diversity. And because I was requested to do this, I'm happy to do most videos on requests I get, as long as spirit lines up and the angels are on board to discuss that topic. So, the Crystal Scouts, they were the souls that came, and I mean, the thing is, I hate giving timelines with these things because there is no set time, and linear time is an illusion. It's a man-made thing. It comes from this time-space consciousness. So the angels don't like discussing timelines and things like that. Even with people who come to me for readings and things like that, who want to know exactly when, nothing is set in stone. Everything is free-flowing and in flux, and it's got to do with where your energy is now and the most likely outcome of that. So we loosely say 60s, that's what I'm getting, okay? Early 60s, maybe even some late 50s, but mainly early 60s, 60, 65 kind of thing. Some of these souls came in. Now, indigos can be born, you can be an indigo and being born at any time. It's not like these are the only set timelines. If you were not born in such a time, you cannot be that soul wave. It doesn't work that way. It's all got to do with where your soul was at, what your soul wanted to accomplish, how tough or easy or what soul lessons you wanted to expand upon. So, but these Crystal Scouts, these souls that came to they came to kind of feel out and check the path so that they could gauge whether it was good for the crystal children to come through decades later. And they pretty much have the same characteristics, very, very similar characteristics to a crystal child or a crystal soul. Be super, super sensitive, very intuitive, very psychic, have a deep connection with animals, with nature, with innocence, with children, be very childlike actually, and usually have a very childlike baby type faces. Be very prone to sensitivities and food issues and allergies and things, because the diet has to be really, really clean and really organic and natural foods, usually vegan, plant-based, vegetarian, pescatarian, that kind of thing. Again, please look at my videos that are characteristics of a crystal soul to get, I think there's 4 videos that goes in depth into what that is. But the Crystal Scouts would have very similar characteristics to that. But they would have had a bit more of a tougher time in that they would have had probably incarnated into more resistant energies, because the world at that time would not have been near as awake or alert to consciousness and expansion and spiritual understandings as they would in the 80s and in the 90s. So you guys would have had a tougher time. You would have had to be much more trailblazers. The Indigos would be part of that too. The early Indigos definitely blaze the trail then for the later Indigos who were born in the 80s and 90s as well. Indigos and Crystals would be a bit different though. Indigos would be much more stronger characters, very strong leaders, have a much more buoyant confidence and sense of purpose and physical presence and place in the world. Crystals are much more modest, a bit more quieter in their presence. Very, very powerful presence is definitely felt, and a very like a bright light that seems to shine from them, but wouldn't necessarily be acknowledged or even understood by the crystal, even though they're having that impact. Even people around wouldn't even consciously realize that it's actually coming from that crystal energy. I did a video on early Indigos. You can look at that as well. They would be currently now in their 50s and 60s, maybe even 70s. Again, these are just rough guidelines, so don't get hung up. If you think you're a rainbow child, which, the rainbows have only come in recently, but you were born years ago. Look, you know what you are. You know who you are. You know what your truth is. Don't get hung up on timelines or numbers to determine whether you are something or not something. I made these videos just purely as guidance of information, just to shed the light on other crystals. I mean, I'm a crystal, just to shed the light to others who, to help you understand yourself more, that's all. So I'd say to Lara, when I tune in, I feel that absolutely you are a crystal, even though you were not born in the 80s. But yes, an early crystal or a crystal scout. And again, your job would be to gauge the energy and to, I suppose as well, another thing that the angel said was that the crystal scouts would often befriend crystal children so that they could kind of guide them and help them. Like one of my best friends is an early Indigo, and she really, really took me under her wing years ago when I was much younger and was a bit like, a little bit maybe embarrassed about my gifts, about my skills, and kind of keeping them hidden because they were so weird or so unusual. So that often happens as well. There's often that connection where you befriend, this crystal scout will befriend a crystal child, and there'll be this beautiful friendship and a kind of mentorship, just helping to meander and guide that soul, because you've done what they need to do, and you have a similar soul blueprint, so you know how to navigate through life better, and you can pass out that information. So I'm running out of time on this video. You know yourself, you get such little time. Another thing, I wish I knew how to make longer videos on YouTube. Anybody know? Leave it in the comment below. I'd love to make much longer videos. I feel really restricted otherwise, because I have so much to share, so much to say with you. So if you have any questions about the Crystal Scouts or any other soul wave, please leave it in the comment below, and I'll do my best to channel on your behalf and to do a video on it. So I love you. Namaste.